Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow My Law Firm. And today we have the privilege and honor of having Brian Ouellette, who is an entrepreneur, founder of several corporations, former financial advisor. But the reason I got him on our show today is because of referrals. We all know referrals are the biggest way to get the best cases, the cheapest. And so Brian is in the process of writing a book. It's going to be released in the next 30 days, hopefully. And he's also the founder of AskMyAdvisor.co. And really want to get into this, Brian. So thank you for being here today, my friend.
Hey, glad to be here, Ken.
Yeah. So tell us your story. And then I want to go into this AskMyAdvisor.co. And then I want to talk about your book. So let's go about how'd you end up where you are today? The guru on referrals.
Yeah. That's funny how paths go. I'll give kind of a 90-second, breakdown of how we got here. You've got your paths you set out in, and mine was, in high school, the movie Wall Street was out. We had Career Day and a couple, Dane Rauscher, maybe it was Dane Bosworth. I can't remember. The names changed hands a bunch of times, but a couple stockbrokers came, and I'm like, oh, that's what I want to do. And so I wanted to be a stockbroker. So through high school, didn't really do much with it, met with some family friends that were in the business. And then through college, started working with a couple family friends that were pretty significant producers in Seattle. Out of college, graduated from the University of Washington, moved out to Chicago. Great, you either moved to New York or Chicago, worked on the Chicago Board of Trade, and that's where I got my feet really wet. And out there, got my licenses, started working with a private client group, got my 6, my 7, my 63, 65, all those tests, and knew I wanted to get back to Seattle to build my business. In Seattle, you had the first round. Well, Boeing was a big employer out here at the time. They've since moved a corporate headquarters out here, but the retirees were a big pocket to go after. Then also Microsoft had that first round in the mid-90s, that first round of Microsoft millionaires coming out. So there was some good pockets of client bases. Plus I wanted to get back home. Moving to Chicago for a year was a great time. It was the first time I'd ever moved away. Awesome city. I was just there a couple of weeks ago, and I missed the Chicago Board of Trade's gone, which is kind of a bummer. I wanted to go and see the floor, but so did that. So built my private client business, saw success pretty quickly. And the reason being, this was 95. If you remember, Ken, the market was just heating up. 95, and a rising tide raised all boats. So I'm somewhere in my early to going into my mid-20s through the 90s, building the business pretty quickly. And I was getting referrals I probably had no business getting. But, everyone's in a good mood. So it was a good time, and people were, kind of excited I was in the business. So I think that helped. And it was funny because you'd get a referral. It'd be so easy. It wouldn't even feel like a referral. You'd have to look back at it and realize, oh, wait, that was a referral, right? Because it was conversation like you and I are having here. And it would happen. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to build my business that way. And then days, weeks, maybe even months go by and nothing. And I kind of found through that time, especially being young in the business without a ton of business experience, that it was more of a passive marketing, right? Referrals just kind of happen, and it was crazy how quickly they can happen. But for the most part, I wasn't doing things to trigger those referrals. They were just kind of happening. So I continued the business, sold my book, and we had the crash in 2000. So for a young broker, that changes your tune a whole lot. I started working more so with our hedge fund group that were truly hedging the portfolios, but I just kind of lost my love for the business. 2004, sold my book of business, started a sports apparel company, a completely different business. My parents come from the retail side. They've got a mom and pop auto part and boat part store they've had since I was 0. Right? They've had it for a long time, over 50 years. And so I knew the retail side. I wanted to do something online, started that. And it was, and that was great, shoe wallet, active gear. I don't even think we've talked about that, Ken, but that's a, little nylon pouches for runners. They've been around for decades. I bought the domain name in 2003 and had some success. Started doing private label, got the product on the Today Show. It was a top fall fitness gear, so that was great promotion. And it was in 2010, I was having a conversation with a sports agent buddy of mine. And at the time, he was developing this database of athletes and sports agents. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. When I was in the business, I never considered working with athletes, and at that time we had all the professional sport teams in Seattle. We've lost the Sonics since then. Or no, we lost him in 2008. So we didn't have the sports team back then. So I kind of look into this a little bit more, and he showed me this article, and I'm sure you've seen it. It's been around been around since 2009, but it's Sports Illustrated, how and why sports athletes go broke. It was a pretty significant article because we realized you'd always heard these problems athletes had over the years with their finances, right? But you never had specific numbers that show that 60% of NBA players are having major financial issues quickly in retirement. Within 2 to 5 years, 78% of NFL athletes were either filing bankruptcy or having major financial issues. And that was, for me, that was a light bulb moment. And I spent the next 3 weeks researching the industry, and I realized, okay, there's a need. 60% of these advisors, whether it's accountants, the attorneys, the financial advisors, whomever, are failing these athletes. There's an opportunity to bring in some new advisors to fix this problem, and an opportunity to build a good client base. So that as that business built, I started Pro Athlete Direct, started selling the database the sports agent had created. And we got media quickly because it was pretty niche-y. Not a lot of people were focused on athletes, and what we were doing was a little bit unique. So that was great. Got some real good media attention right out of the gate. And we were bringing on some pretty big name advisors, ones that were either former pro athletes. We brought Super Bowl winners on, MLB All-Stars, people from every sport, D1, D2, national team athletes, all the stuff that had turned advisor, and then just awesome advisors that were working with high-level clients. And quickly what I started getting asked was, hey, this is great access. We've got access to the agents, the athletes, all this stuff. What do we do with it? So me coming back from the financial advisory side, I began building the coaching business around that. So for that decade, that was the coaching of these athletes. It became a coaching business where we coach these advisors how to develop relationships with a really key center of influence relationship, the sports agent. Sports agents by job description are super connected. And it's not just to their athlete clients, it's to service providers, other agents, all this stuff. So they're really a goldmine center of influence relationship. But it was late in 2000. Well, the specific conversation, we may talk about this today, Ken, is I began to realize, hey, we're doing all this work to build the relationships with the sports agents. And that's the whole coaching systems around that. But for most of these advisors, you're starting from zero, right? You've got to build a relationship from nothing, which we can do, and we coach them how to do it. But again, to realize there was a center of influence relationship that was far superior than any sports agent relationship. It was the advisor's existing clients. If you think of a center of influence, if you think of somebody, words don't mean a whole lot, but when I put my wallet and I invest my money in Ken to represent me, that's the biggest vote you can have, people that are your clients. So I began to look at that, really studying the Pareto principle, how it works with our clients. And I realized not just any of your clients is a center of influence. Let's focus on the top 20% of your clients, the ones that are accounting for 70, 80, 90% of your revenues, that 80-20 rule, right? So we began to shift the model to the advisor's existing clients. And what's beautiful, well, there's a lot of beautiful things about that. But number one, all of a sudden you could trigger same day referrals because you're working with people now that are your center of influence relationships. So that's the seed of the Ask My Advisor method. We'll talk about that more. I don't want to give it all the way right in the introduction, but that just kind of gives you, Ken, and the listeners, kind of the progression that got us to where we are. You always set out to be a certain way. I thought I was going to be a financial advisor for 20, 30, 40 years, and that was it. I went these different paths, but it's gotten us to where we are now. And we're pretty excited about not just the Ask My Advisor method, but the software we've built around that to really, we're going through a challenging time. People have a lot of questions right now. We think this app is a really good timing to be bringing this to the market.
Yeah. So tell me about this concept. You said the 80-20 rule, but like most of my followers are PI clients, which they can be rich, they can be poor. You might get a big settlement for a poor guy. You might get a small settlement for a rich guy. But the deal is, the premise that you're basing all this on is your existing clients. Instead of trying to go out and spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars marketing to people that don't know you, like you, or trust you, you're going to your base of people that you've already developed a relationship, that know you, like you, and trust you. And the ones, and I've always preached this about being top of mind awareness, stand in front of them because they do forget you. And, but tell me about your concept, how this works. And then I'm really interested in your app.
Yeah, no, those are great questions. It's interesting. One of the things we do as advisors, we are always looking for that new business. And one thing we forget about is just because you bring on a new client, it's a two-way street. Service in exchange for a dollar, right? A lot of times we don't know what a client's going to be like 6 months down the road, 12 months from that, down the road. So we get so focused on trying to get those clients, we don't know much about them. When we focus on our existing clients, and there's some numbers that I didn't talk about in the intro, but kind of some key numbers. Thanks to social media right now, the average person's connected to about over 600 people right now. When you look at family, friends, acquaintances, people you work with, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all those things, the average person's connected to over 6 people. So right now, one of your clients represents a reach 1 degree away to 600 people. This is a big deal. So we use the Pareto principle, focus on just your top clients. Your reach, you begin to realize your top 10 clients, your top 10 clients have a reach of over 6,000. We talk about your top 25, over 15,000. So in that pool, there's more people than you would ever be able to communicate with just within this existing very hot center of influence relationship. And one of the key things here, who most closely resembles those people? Well, it's the people in their lives, right? Their friends, their family, the people they work with. You're typically in the same range of where your kids are in life, where you are in life, all these things. So the single best way we believe to replicate your best clients is to get them from your best clients. And that's really what the method's all about. It's how to set a mechanism in place to get recurring referrals from the top 20% of your clients. And one other thing I didn't notice, it's your top 20% of your clients and your center of influence relationships. Because a lot of people, it's not just your clients. You've got center of influence relationships. So it's your elite COI, your elite circle of influence, of who you invite to get recurrent referrals from these clients and center of influence by never asking. You set a mechanism in place by never asking referral, by simply giving them a place to Q&A with you, private access to you. And the couple key things about that, we'll talk about that with the method, is this is by invitation only. So we talk about in the book, Ken, I don't know if you got to look through the draft, but one of the things we talk about is the velvet rope effect, right? You walk down the street, you see a door in a building, you don't think much of it, but you walk by that same door and you see a velvet rope around it, people's ears perk up a little bit. You're like, what's that all about? What's going on there? When we make something by invitation, not available for the general public, that's a status climb, right? So this by invitation is a really key thing. So when you invite them to Q&A with you, this is not something you're marketing out to everybody and their mother. You are solely sharing it with the top 20% of your clients and center of influence relationships to use to Q&A with you. And they're invited, the golden ticket they have is because they got invited for this, to share it with people in their lives that have questions. One of the benefits right now, all these questions people have, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, right? Is people have a lot of questions. I can make the case that as far as being an essential worker, accountants, attorneys, financial advisors, realtors, venture capitalists have never been more essential than they are now, because you're the experts that people rely on to get their questions answered, right? And when you have questions, the beautiful thing about questions, it's a filter of sharing what's your number one pain. When you ask a question, if I got a list of 10, if I got a chance to sit down with you, Ken, and I've got some log questions, some of the specific. I got my top 10 list of questions. If I got a chance to ask you one of them, I'm probably not asking you my 10th most important question. I'm probably going all the way up to number 1 and asking you that question. So when you do it this way, you automatically qualify the people that come and ask you the questions, and you're identifying their biggest pain point, which is their question. And then you can begin providing a solution. So that's kind of the magic. There's a little more to it, but that's kind of the magic of what's unique about this and what's so special about making this by invitation only.
It's interesting. I came up, and I never really pushed it, but I came up with this idea. One of the books I wrote was about the 3 phases of marketing to PI clients: is before, during, and after representation. And I often said with the texting stuff, I didn't think as far ahead as you. I'm not as brilliant as you are thinking about putting together a whole app, but thought about what if you give them a way to text you anytime them or their friends got questions, so that you become like their trusted legal advisor. You know what I'm saying? And I never pushed forward on that. And of course, you're doing this a lot more snazzy, I guess is the word to say, or a lot better thought out than I did. But I often thought about that. That was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was thinking about back when texting was just becoming popular for lawyers, texting your clients and things like that. I thought about that would be a way to stay glued to those ones that really keep them on the top of your mind. Ken Hardison here, president and founder of PILMA, Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing and Management Association. I want you to mark your calendars for September the 7th through the 9th. We're going to have an internet boot camp for lawyers. We call it the Lawyers Internet Domination Boot Camp. And it's going to be virtual, so you don't have to travel. 3 afternoons from 12:30 to 5:30. And if you can't make one of the sessions, you'll get full recordings of every speaker. So here's just some of the samples, some of the things we're going to be covering. Luke Russell is going to talk to you about how to win in the new era of Facebook advertising and how to target when Facebook is regularly reducing targeting options. Seth Price is going to talk to you about the 5 things you need to be doing in SEO to make more money. And I'm going to be talking to you about how to protect yourself and your law firm from cybersecurity attacks. Did you know that they have grown from over 67% in the last 3 years? Tanner Jones will also be talking about how to dominate your local market with agile social media marketing. And we have a special keynote, Dennis Yu, who is the godfather of how to test your Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram ads on $1 a day. It's a secret that he has shared with me and our PILMA friends, and now he's going to share it with you. So if this sounds like something you're interested, go to pilma.org/internet bootcamp, or go to the end of the notes of this presentation. Thanks.
Stuff what you just said on that. One of the things, if you're asking us, what do you do? Like, what's the one core thing you do? If there's, from point of not knowing somebody to them being a client and then being a top 20% of your clients, say there's 5 steps to get there. Well, there's multiple steps to get to that point, but without a connection to begin that relationship, none of the other 5 steps matter because you never meet the person, you never connect, you never can help them, right?
Right.
We are a connector. If you're asking us at the bare bones, what we do in the simplest terms, what's the result we're trying to do, is increase your connections. We know 1 degree away from your top clients right now as we speak, your top 10 clients right now, there's over 6,000 people right now, 1 degree away. And the question is, well, how do you tap into those people? And traditionally people, they got the PS in their email, hey, the greatest thing you can do, compliment you give me is to refer me, and you can ask for referrals. We always prefer bait in the water versus not asking. But number 1, most advisors don't ask. And number 2, we look at that often as a low status because I go to my doctor and I love my doctor and I've referred him more than once in the last 6 months, my general practitioner doctor. I don't want to get done with my physical and have him sit me down and say, okay, Brian, write down 3 people that need a doctor right now, and then sit there and look at me, right? Now, again, that's bait in the water. We always prefer that over not. The whole idea with Ask My Advisor, the method, was what's a more seamless way to make it feel like, to have referrals happen to where you never feel like, it kind of goes back to when I got in the business and referrals were happening. I didn't think of it as a referral till afterwards. I look back, it's like, oh wait, that was a referral, right? It just happens naturally. And when you lead with questions are incredibly powerful. One of the things, I was listening to your call earlier with Jim, is it Farron or Farron, his last name?
Farron. Yeah.
Farron. And you talked about that question. It was a great qualifier. It's what made you call? That opens up a whole lot, right? Because what made you call? It opens up, you learn a whole lot about somebody quickly, right? Questions are really good at identifying, eliminating all the fluff and getting directly to what is your pain and how can we begin fixing that? And that with, traditional referrals happen. Well, here, I'll tell you a quick story. One of the key parts of in 2019, October 2019, I was having coffee at a little neighborhood coffee shop and I was dealing with my insurance, our umbrella insurance. And it's the worst customer service. I come from, as a financial advisor, I have my insurance license, I did some insurance. It's just been consistently the worst customer service experience every time I have to deal with them, right? It's just a major problem. So I'm super frustrated. My buddy comes in, he comes from the commercial insurance side. So we're just shooting the bull, and I got a message back while we're talking. I told him, I just kind of vented. He's like, dude, do you know Cam at Gravrock? And I'm like, well, I know the name, but you got to get with him. He'll hook you up. Just get with him. So Ryan with me asking, sends an email introduction within about an hour. It was a perfect email, right? So it was hey, talking to Brian. Brian needs to get covered. Hook it up. Well, I knew Cam, not directly, but I knew his mother. His mother's taught swim lessons in our neighborhood for like 30, 40 years. She's trained like 20,000 kids how to swim. If you learn to swim, you learn to swim through his mom, right? His sister's married to a fraternity brother of mine. I mean, we have all this overlap, right? He got back to me. It was a perfect, the perfect referral situation. I was ready to move that minute. I had someone I already trusted deeply. I had a need, he could fill it, and I knew he was a successful guy. We emailed back and forth, and guess what happened after that? Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened, and it's nothing wrong he did. His reply back to me was perfect. It happens too often where the emails get lost, voicemails go back and forth, and I have a need still, but I'll just put that off. I'll put that off. And so the idea is, what do you do to put a place that people know going to it? It's for Q&A right out of the gate. And you have a place for the advisor, as the advisor to, the attorney, accountant, financial advisor, get those questions come in, begin to answer the question and build a relationship from there. And then when you qualify people in a certain way, where this isn't shared out to the general public, this is by invitation. So we know every question that comes in is either coming from one of your top clients or center influence relationships, or number two, it's been someone referred already. So this is the creme de la creme. Every question that comes through is already qualified without you doing a single thing. It's all automated. And the key thing is, with existing clients, we're really driven, referrals is easy because people can think about, I want more referrals. This is a great way to uncover additional needs from your best clients, because oftentimes your best clients are putting things off. They're putting things off, right? So it's a two-way street to get referrals in an automated way by having a Q&A portal for the advisor, and that's what our software builds. So identify new needs from your current clients, and then for people in their lives, a place to go that's designated for Q&A. And that's really what's key. And one of the things, in the book coming up, Referral Secrets to the Elite Trusted Advisor, we share 3 ways to use the method. One is a free way that you literally can go to your email and use it, from read it, learn it in the book. Our webinar, we talk about it too. And it's simply just using your email, costs you $0. And we show you the exact blueprint to do that. Actually, one of our blueprints we share online is that free way to do it. We show the second way, which is where you can plug some services together and accomplish the Ask My Advisor method, or the third way, which is our preferred way for some odd reason, I don't know why, but it's the software way, the easy button. It does everything for you within the software. You've got everything you need, and you can be literally live with your Q&A portal within 15 minutes. And one of the key things, there's great technologies out there, right? I see it all the time, especially since I've gotten on the software world in a deep way the last 2 years. It doesn't matter how great an idea is, if it doesn't get implemented and get used, it's all for nothing, right? The example, I think of my mom. My mom took forever to text, right? She just, whatever reason, we'd say, Mom, it's so easy. Look, text, it's so easy. She kept putting it off. My brother and I would be, Mom, you're going to be a great texter. It's going to be fun. She literally took years, and then finally the domino dropped. She's a texter. She's a great texter. It's fun. We're in communication now much more than we would be without texting. That was a technology that's pretty simple. We all can text, but if she didn't use it, we missed out on all this, this conversation we wouldn't have had without it. It's the same thing. So we made this software third grade simple to use. If you can answer questions about yourself and fill in the blank and hit publish, you literally can be live with your Q&A portal ready to share with your top clients. So it was an important thing for us, because it's not all for my mom not texting, but it just reminds me I see all these great ideas all the time. But when I get in there, man, if it's complicated to me, how's anyone else going to adopt these things? We made this thing super simple. But we do share, we're all about education-based markets, so we do share 3 ways. The free way, the do-it-yourself way with other services, or our way.
Do you have a price point yet on that app?
We do. So how this works is we've got an annual access fee to the software, and then we have a monthly recurring fee. That's $2,000 for the annual access fee, and then the recurring fee is $200 a month. For founding members right now, how we're doing this as an incentive is that annual access fee, year 1 is $150, and the monthly fee is $100. So it's $250 to get started. 60-day no questions asked guarantee. We want people in there using it. We feel this thing has been built to, once you get in, you never leave. You will always have this until you sell your business or retire. I mean, that's how important the thread that we've run through this business, how important we believe it's going to be. But we feel that's a good incentive. And one of the things, you and I haven't talked about this before, Ken, but we have a bit of a Trojan horse with this. One of the things with me coaching advisors the last 10 years was I was coaching all these financial advisors, attorneys, accountants that were working with pro athletes. Well, really, there's only about 2,000 sports agents, maybe 2,500, that have a real business. Everyone says there's a lot of people say they're sports agents. You see this all the time, I'm sure, with attorneys love to say I'm a sports agent, but who do you represent? Well, I haven't represented anybody yet. So there was a limited pool of these sports agents. So over a decade, I couldn't bring all my advisors together because they're all trying to eat each other's lunch. And that bothered me because I couldn't do something like what you've got, the summit coming up, next or 2 weeks, right? Where you bring everybody together.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that the way the business was designed. And one of the key things with how we built this is you're only focusing, Ken, your clients, you only share this with your own clients. So people in your office, you can bring and bring into this. Financial advisors, we're not competing, it's complementary. So with that, when we set out and started building the software, the natural progression was, okay, let's build a Facebook group, and we'll have a Facebook group, and I'll, do my coaching through there, bring people in like you and other experts in to communicate with the members. We'll also, have live case studies, what's working for people, what's not. We can run all that through Facebook. And then about 10 days into it, I halted that. I said, you know what? I don't want to do Facebook. Number one, a lot of people are getting away from Facebook. Number two, I don't like all that control another service provider has over my people. So we did from the ground up, this October 2020, we built our own software. So it looks like a Facebook group. It's 100% our software, and it's going to operate a lot like a Facebook group, but it's our own. And what we're going to do through that newsfeed, we call it the network. Through the network is where we coach our members ongoing. We bring experts like you and everyone through that newsfeed. And now all these advisors can come together. And because they've all run complementary businesses, accountants want relationships with attorneys want relationships with financial advisors, vice versa, realtors, venture capitalists. We can bring everybody together through the network. We look at it as it's our think tank. We say it's like a Facebook group on steroids, but now we can bring everyone together. When I say that's a Trojan horse, that will be a standalone where people will be able to get access to for $5,000 to $10,000 a year. Right now, as founding members, we are including that for nothing because we want to build up the network, get people in the system, and then we'll break it off and have it as an add-on. But that is, when I say Trojan horse, that's really the asset that's getting grown here, is we can bring all these, highly specialized advisors together in one place. They're going to be able to meet each other. They've got complementary businesses, and we can all grow our businesses together through that.
That's great, man. That is great. Well, good deal, man. So if somebody wants to, where can they go? How can they get it with you, or how can they join this, or how do they get involved?
Yeah, so one of the key things we're doing is we want people to have a baseline understanding. We actually went back into the book and changed this. We've got a prologue to the prologue, right, where we really want people to understand. If you see things through the frame of understand what the Ask My Advisor method is, how to get recurring referrals from your top clients without ever asking, by simply providing a place to Q&A with the expert, you.
Right.
We want people to have an understanding of the reach you have with your top clients right now, which is massive. We talked about 600 people. We're talking a big reach you already have. So, ideally, you never have to market outside of your existing clients now. So we want people, that's the preface to it. So with the blueprint, we've got a one page when I say it's front and back, but it's a blueprint to access that will show you. You can literally, we include a message template to share with your clients from this blueprint to do it for free. We'd love people to get a referral for free and then come talk about it with us. That's at tip.askmyadvisor.co/blueprint. Tip.askmyadvisor.co/blueprint.
All right. I'm writing this down. We'll get it.
And then actually, it would be easier because this is your audience. Make that at the end, change it to PILMA at the end, PILMMA.
Okay.
And we'll have it just for your listeners, a specific page where they can access the blueprint. And then on there, we've got access to the webinar, which the webinars are one of the key things when you build a software app. Is the beautiful thing with software is you can automate a lot of the processes. That's the whole benefit. That's just what's different than a traditional business, is you can automate so much of it. So a motto we really work from is where other companies add headcount, we automate. Our goal is to automate the process. So our primary sales engine is not setting up a call center. I've done strategy session calls for years with Pro Athlete Direct, and they're great. This is simple enough and ready to put in action enough to where we believe having a webinar, give you the A to Z, and it's running about 29 minutes right now, will be our primary sales engine for this. So people have an opportunity to access the webinar too.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, listen, I'm looking forward for the book coming out, and it's Referral Secrets of the Elite Trusted Advisor. And that'll be I guess it'll be on Amazon, and it'll be on your website, I'm sure. And there's a surprise for people that buy this book, because I actually have a chapter in it. Very short.
You do. It's short, but important.
Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate it, and good luck with this deal. And I'm going to go actually download the blueprint myself right now and take a look at it, because you got me thinking now. You got me.
We want thinking. Thinking's good. Thinking's good for all of us. So I appreciate it, Ken.
All right. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.